The night was darker than usual. Rain poured heavily, beating against the rusted zinc roofs of Olokuta village. The streets were almost empty, except for one man who moved slowly under the shadows of the storm. He pushed a wooden cart covered with a torn black nylon, the wheels squeaking as though they carried a heavy secret. His eyes darted left and right. His hands trembled slightly, but his lips curved in a faint smile, as if he knew something the whole world did not. Suddenly, a stray flash of lightning cut across the sky, and for a split second, the black nylon shifted. Beneath it was meat. Not just any meat. Chunks of flesh that looked far too strange, far too clean, far too human. A dog barked in the distance. A baby cried in the nearby compound. But the man kept pushing the cart, whispering softly to himself. They will never know. They must never know. And so began the tale of the meat seller that no one truly understood. You're watching Nightfall Tales by Wura, where shadows speak, and stories never die. Stay close, because what you're about to hear will haunt you forever. The market of Olokuta was always noisy. Traders shouted, children ran around, women bargained loudly for food, and the smell of fresh spices filled the air. But among all the stalls, there was one that everyone avoided except when hunger pushed them. It was the stall of Baba Sola, the meat seller. No one knew much about him. He appeared in the village 2 years ago, carrying nothing but his wooden cart and a sharp butcher's knife. He never laughed. He never argued. He only cut meat, wrapped it neatly in leaves, and spoke in a calm, chilling voice. Take it. You will like it. My meat is different. And truly, his meat was different. Unlike other butchers, Baba Sola's meat never smelled, never rotted, and always seemed strangely fresh, no matter the weather. People whispered. Some said he brought it from the city. Others claimed he was simply blessed. But deep down, everyone felt something was wrong. The children in the market avoided his stall. They said his eyes followed them, cold and piercing, like a hunter watching his prey. The women swore his hands were too steady for a man his age. The men noticed how he worked too quietly, too carefully, as if protecting a secret. But the strangest thing of all was this: no one had ever seen him kill an animal. He never bought goats or cows. He never went with hunters. Yet his stall was always full of meat, fresh, red, and ready. One day, a bold young man named Kunle decided to ask him. Baba Sola, Kunle said, where do you get your meat from? We never see you buy animals. The old man paused, wiped his knife slowly, and looked at Kunle with eyes that felt like knives themselves. Then he whispered. Young man, curiosity is a sickness. And some sickness has no cure. He smiled faintly and turned away. From that day, Kunle could not sleep. Something about the meat seller was haunting him. And so, unknowingly, he began to dig into a secret that would change the village forever. Kunle was restless. At night, he dreamt of Baba Sola's stall. He dreamt of the black nylon cart. He dreamt of strange shadows moving behind the meat seller's compound. He told his mother, but she dismissed him. Leave that old man alone, she said. His meat is cheap. His meat is clean. What else do you want? In this life, don't look for trouble that is not looking for you. But Kunle's heart burned with curiosity. One evening, while the market was closing, Kunle hid behind a plantain stall and watched Baba Sola carefully. The man packed up his meat, covered it with black nylon, and began to push his cart. Kunle followed. The path was quiet, leading away from the market and towards the forest. The rain had stopped, but the air was heavy with the smell of wet earth. Baba Sola walked slowly, humming an old song, as though nothing in the world bothered him. Kunle tiptoed behind him, heart pounding. Then suddenly, Baba Sola stopped. He turned sharply, his eyes scanning the darkness. Kunle quickly hid behind a tree, holding his breath. For a long moment, Baba Sola stood still, listening. Then, with a small smile, he pushed his cart again and disappeared deeper into the forest. Kunle waited until he was sure it was safe. Then he followed the tracks. They led to a small, lonely hut on the edge of the forest. The hut looked old, with broken walls and a leaking roof, but strange enough, smoke rose gently from it. Kunle crept closer and peeped through a small crack in the wall. What he saw made his blood freeze. Inside the hut were bones. Not animal bones. Not goat skulls. They were too large. Too human. Kunle's hands shook as he pressed his mouth shut to stop himself from screaming. And in the middle of the hut, Baba Sola was arranging the fresh meat neatly on a wooden table, whistling calmly. Kunle stumbled backward, almost falling. His heart beat so loudly he thought the old man would hear it. Somehow, he managed to escape into the night, his legs weak, his body trembling. That night, Kunle knew the meat seller was hiding something dark. But he had no proof. And in Olokuta, without proof, no one would believe him. The next week, something strange happened in Olokuta. A young woman named Dupe, who lived close to Kunle's compound, went missing. She was last seen returning from the stream with a pot of water on her head. But she never made it home. The village searched. They combed the forest. They asked questions. But Dupe was gone, as if swallowed by the earth. Kunle's heart raced. He remembered the hut. He remembered the bones. He remembered the meat on Baba Sola's table. Could it be? He told his closest friend, Tayo, about what he saw. Tayo, I swear on my life, that meat is not from goats. It is not from cows. Baba Sola, he is selling something else. I saw bones. Human bones. Tayo looked at him with wide eyes. Are you mad? Do you know what you're saying? If people hear this, they will say you're cursed. But Kunle grabbed his friend's arm. I am not mad. Dupe is gone. And I fear she will not be the last. We must do something. We must find the truth. Tayo hesitated. He was scared. But he trusted Kunle. And so, that night, the two young men made a dangerous decision. They would sneak into Baba Sola's hut again, this time together, and uncover the secret once and for all. But what they were about to find was more twisted than anything they could have imagined. The moon hid behind thick clouds as Kunle and Tayo crept silently into the forest. Their feet crunched against dry leaves, every sound echoing in their ears like thunder. The night air was cold, heavy, and still. Even the crickets had stopped singing. Tayo whispered nervously, Kunle, are you sure about this? What if we get caught? Kunle's jaw tightened. We must know the truth. If Dupe's disappearance has anything to do with that old man, then we cannot stay silent. They reached the hut. It looked worse at night, like a dark mouth waiting to swallow them. Smoke curled faintly from a small fire inside. Shadows danced on the walls. Kunle placed a trembling finger on his lips, signaling silence. Then, carefully, they moved to the side of the hut where a crack in the wall allowed them to peep inside. What they saw made their stomachs churn. Baba Sola was not alone. He knelt beside a large wooden table. On it lay a body, Dupe's body. Her skin was pale, her eyes lifeless, her neck twisted at an unnatural angle. Kunle bit his tongue to stop himself from crying out. The old man hummed a slow song as he worked with his knife, slicing her flesh with steady hands, wrapping each piece neatly in leaves, and setting them aside. His movements were careful, almost ritualistic, as though he had done this many times before. Tayo stumbled backward, his hand over his mouth, fighting the urge to vomit. Kunle pulled him down quickly. The old man suddenly paused. His knife hovered in the air. His head turned slowly, as if he sensed something or someone watching. Kunle's heart nearly stopped. He pressed himself flat against the mud wall, gripping Tayo's arm tightly. After what felt like eternity, Baba Sola smiled faintly to himself and continued cutting. Kunle grabbed Tayo's hand. We must leave. Now. They crawled away silently, their bodies trembling, their hearts racing. That night, when they reached home, neither of them spoke for a long time. The silence between them was louder than any scream. Finally, Kunle whispered. He is not just a butcher, he is a monster. The next morning, the market was buzzing. Word had spread about Dupe's disappearance. Women gathered in small groups, whispering. Men shook their heads, worried. Children clung to their mothers. Kunle sat quietly at the corner of his mother's stall. He wanted to scream the truth, to tell the world what he saw. But fear gripped his throat. Who would believe him? What if Baba Sola came for him next? Meanwhile, Baba Sola's stall was as busy as ever. He cut meat calmly, wrapped it, and handed it to customers with that same faint smile. Take it. You will like it. My meat is different. Kunle watched as people bought from him, laughing and thanking him. His stomach turned as he realized they were eating Dupe. He looked at Tayo, who stood across the market. Their eyes met. Both boys shared the same silent fear. That night, Kunle's mother noticed his troubled face. My son, she said, what is wrong with you? You have been restless. Kunle opened his mouth, then shut it. How could he tell her? How could he tell anyone? Later, Tayo sneaked into Kunle's house. Kunle, we cannot stay quiet. What we saw, it is evil. More people will disappear. We must do something. Kunle nodded slowly. But what? Who will believe us? They will laugh, or worse, they will say we are cursed. Tayo swallowed hard. Then we need proof. Real proof. If we can catch him in the act, the whole village will see. Kunle thought for a moment, then whispered, we will go back to the hut. This time, we will not just watch. We will take something that shows the truth. Their plan was set. But little did they know. Baba Sola was already one step ahead. The following night, Kunle and Tayo returned to the forest. Their hearts pounded as they crept closer to the hut. This time, they carried a small lantern and a basket, ready to collect proof. The hut was quiet. Too quiet. They peeped through the crack again. The table was empty. The fire was cold. No sign of Baba Sola. Maybe he's not here, Tayo whispered. Kunle's eyes narrowed. No, something is wrong. Slowly, they pushed the creaky wooden door and stepped inside. The smell hit them first, thick, metallic, heavy with blood. Bones lay scattered across the floor. Some fresh, some old, some too small to belong to adults. Kunle's stomach twisted, but he forced himself to look. In one corner stood a wooden chest. He opened it carefully, and froze. Inside were skulls. Dozens of them. Male, female, young, old. Staring back at him with empty eyes. Tayo gasped. Oh my God. Suddenly, the door slammed shut. The boys spun around. And there he was. Baba Sola stood in the doorway, his eyes gleaming, his butcher's knife shining in the faint lantern light. He smiled, slow and cold. So, he whispered, his voice calm and steady, the sickness of curiosity has spread to both of you. Kunle and Tayo stumbled backward, their breaths sharp, their legs trembling. The old man took one step forward. Then another. His knife glistened. His smile widened. You should not have come here, he said softly. Now, you will join the others. The boys looked at each other, terror in their eyes. They had fallen into his trap. And the night was only beginning. The hut's air grew heavier as Baba Sola stepped closer, knife in hand. The lantern flickered, throwing his shadow across the walls, tall, stretched, and monstrous. Kunle grabbed Tayo's arm, whispering sharply, run. But there was no way out. The old man blocked the door. His eyes were fixed on them, unblinking, cold. Suddenly, Tayo kicked the wooden chest of skulls, sending bones crashing across the floor. The distraction was enough. Baba Sola flinched, and the boys bolted toward the small back window. Kunle shoved it open and squeezed through, scraping his arm against the wooden frame. Tayo followed quickly, their breaths sharp and loud. Catch them! Baba Sola roared, his voice deeper than they had ever heard, echoing like thunder. the boys dashed into the forest. Branches slapped their faces, roots caught their feet, but they didn't stop. They could still hear him behind them, his footsteps, steady and calm, not rushed, as though he knew they couldn't escape. Kunle's heart pounded. "He's following us." Tayo gasped. "But how?" "He's not running." The boys finally burst into the village, panting heavily, collapsing near Kunle's mother's hut. They were safe, at least for now. But in the shadows of the trees, Baba Sola stood silently, his knife glinting faintly under the moonlight. He watched them with that same faint smile. And then, he whispered, almost as if speaking to the night itself. "They cannot escape me. No one ever does." The next morning, Kunle and Tayo went to the village head, Balaramu. They told him everything: the hut, the bones, the skulls, the butcher's knife, Dupe's body. But the Bale frowned, his face grave. "Do you boys know what you are saying? To accuse a man without proof is dangerous. Baba Sola is respected. People buy his meat every day. If you are wrong, you bring shame upon yourselves and your families." Kunle slammed his fist against the ground. "We are not lying. We saw it with our own eyes. If we don't stop him, more people will vanish." The Bale shook his head. "Without proof, I can do nothing." Kunle and Tayo left, frustrated and angry. But something worse awaited them. That evening, Baba Sola arrived at Kunle's compound. He carried a small parcel of meat wrapped in leaves. His smile was calm, his eyes cold. "Greetings, Mama Kunle," he said politely. "I brought you something. A gift." Kunle froze. His mother smiled warmly, unaware of the hidden terror. "Ah, Baba Sola, thank you. God bless you." Baba Sola's eyes shifted to Kunle. They locked for a brief, chilling moment. Then he said softly, almost too softly for anyone else to hear. "Eat well, young man. It may be your last meal." Kunle's blood turned to ice. He wanted to scream. He wanted to throw the meat away. But his mother insisted they keep it, praising Baba Sola's kindness. That night, Kunle sat awake, staring at the parcel of meat on the wooden table. He didn't touch it. He couldn't. And outside, in the darkness, he swore he saw a shadow standing by their compound, watching. Kunle and Tayo knew they had to act fast. Baba Sola wasn't just a killer, he was bold, fearless, untouchable. And worse, he now knew they were onto him. That night, they decided to return to the hut once more. This time, they would take proof. A skull. A piece of evidence that no one could deny. They crept into the forest again. The hut stood silent, its roof dripping from the evening rain. They pushed the door open carefully, lantern in hand. The bones were gone. The chest was empty. The hut was clean. Too clean. Kunle's eyes widened. No, this can't be. Suddenly, a voice spoke from the shadows. "Looking for something?" They spun around. Baba Sola stood behind them. But this time, he wasn't alone. 3 men stepped out from the darkness. Men from the village. Men they knew. One was Ojo the hunter, another Shola the blacksmith, and the third, Ayabasira's eldest son. Their faces were blank, their eyes cold. Each held a knife. Kunle and Tayo froze. Their stomachs dropped. Baba Sola stepped forward, his smile widening. "You think I work alone? No, boys. I only sell the meat. But the village eats it." Kunle's legs trembled. His throat went dry. It wasn't just Baba Sola. It was bigger. Darker. Twisted. The meat seller was only the beginning. Kunle and Tayo's breaths came fast, their backs pressed against the wall of the hut. The knives in the hands of Ojo, Shola, and Ayabasira's son gleamed faintly under the lantern light. Kunle whispered, You all know?" Baba Sola chuckled softly, shaking his head like a patient teacher correcting a child. "No. My boy, they are part of it. This village has always known. Tayo stammered, that's impossible. People would never. People will do anything for survival, Baba Sola interrupted, his voice calm and measured. The world outside Olokuta does not care about us. But here, we have found a way to thrive. A way to live. A way to eat when others starve. Kunle's knees weakened. You mean, the whole village is eating human flesh? Baba Sola finished for him, smiling. Yes. And they like it. My meat is different. You have tasted it, haven't you? Haven't you wondered why it's softer? Sweeter? Tayo gagged. His hand flew to his mouth. Kunle felt bile rise in his throat. The three men moved closer, knives steady. Baba Sola whispered. You should not have seen this. But since you have, you must make a choice. Stay silent and live. Or refuse, and become meat. Kunle and Tayo were dragged to a hidden shrine deep in the forest. The air was thick with the smell of burning herbs and dried blood. Strange carvings covered the walls, and in the center stood a wooden idol with a cracked face. Around the shrine were more villagers, faces Kunle knew all his life. The palm wine seller, the midwife, even the school teacher. All stood in silence, eyes cold, watching. Kunle's heart broke. These were the people he trusted. The people he grew up with. Baba Sola stepped forward, holding a small calabash filled with dark liquid. Tonight, he declared, 2 more will join us. They will take the oath, or they will feed the earth. The villagers murmured in agreement. Kunle's chest tightened. Never. We will never join you. Baba Sola's smile did not falter. He looked at Tayo. And you? Tayo trembled. His eyes darted to the knives, to the idol, to the villagers surrounding them. Tears filled his eyes. Kunle. I don't want to die. No. Kunle shouted. Don't say that. Don't give in to them. But Baba Sola placed the calabash in front of Tayo. His voice was soft, tempting, like a serpent whispering. Drink, and you will never be hungry again. Drink, and you will live. Tayo's hand shook. He reached for the calabash. Kunle grabbed his arm desperately. Tayo, don't. If you drink, you become one of them. You become like him. The villagers watched, silent but eager. The air was heavy with tension. Finally, Tayo pushed the calabash away, his face twisted in fear and defiance. No. I can't. I won't. For the first time, Baba Sola's smile faded. His eyes grew dark. Then you have chosen death. The villagers closed in. The shrine filled with the sound of footsteps and low chants. The idol's cracked eyes seemed to glow in the firelight. Kunle pulled Tayo close, whispering, we must fight. It's the only way. Tayo's lips trembled. Fight them? There are too many. Then we die fighting, Kunle said firmly, his eyes burning with determination. As the first man lunged forward, Kunle grabbed a burning log from the shrine's fire and swung it wildly. Flames sparked, and the man screamed as his clothes caught fire. The shrine erupted into chaos. Villagers rushed forward, shouting, knives flashing in the firelight. Kunle and Tayo fought desperately, dodging, pushing, swinging. Kunle smashed the calabash of dark liquid against the ground. It shattered, the strange drink spilling like blood across the shrine floor. Baba Sola's face twisted in fury. You dare defy us, he roared, his calm mask finally breaking. Tayo tripped over a stone, falling hard. A knife slashed across his arm, drawing blood. He cried out in pain. Kunle! Kunle dragged him up, but Baba Sola was already advancing, his knife steady, his eyes cold. You boys think you can fight the hunger of a whole village? You cannot win. We will eat, and you will feed us. Kunle's heart raced. His friend was bleeding. The villagers were closing in. And Baba Sola was only a breath away. The shrine walls echoed with chants, with screams, with fire. And in that moment, Kunle realized, this was no longer about just surviving. This was about exposing the evil that had consumed his entire village. But to do that, he and Tayo would have to escape the shrine alive. The shrine was chaos. Flames danced on the thatched roof after Kunle swung the burning log. Villagers screamed as smoke filled the air. Some tried to put out the fire, others charged with knives, their chants turning to angry shouts. Kunle dragged Tayo toward the entrance, but Baba Sola blocked the way. His eyes glowed with fury. His knife gleamed with hunger. "You will not leave alive," he growled. Kunle gritted his teeth, gripping the burning log like a weapon. "Then you will burn with us." The two stared at each other for a tense moment. Then, Kunle swung the log. Baba Sola dodged easily, his movements unnaturally fast for his age. He slashed with his knife, cutting Kunle's arm. Blood spilled, but Kunle didn't stop. Tayo, weak from his wound, grabbed a stone and hurled it at Baba Sola. It struck his head with a dull thud. Baba Sola staggered, not from pain, but from shock. For the first time, his faint smile broke. Kunle seized the chance. He shoved Tayo through the door and ran into the forest, smoke chasing them, villagers screaming behind them. The boys ran until their lungs burned. They didn't stop until they reached the riverbank, where they collapsed, gasping for breath, their bodies trembling. Kunle looked at Tayo, whose arm was bleeding badly. Tears stung his eyes. "We can't run forever. We need help. We need someone outside the village. Someone who doesn't eat this cursed meat." Tayo's lips quivered. "But who will believe us?" Kunle clenched his fists. "We will make them believe. Even if it kills us." Behind them, smoke from the burning shrine rose into the night sky, a dark warning that the war had just begun. The boys hid in the home of an old widow named Mama Ife, who was known to be kind but withdrawn. She listened silently as they told their story, the hut, the bones, the shrine, the villagers. When they finished, she shook her head, her eyes filled with sorrow. "My children. I warned my husband years ago. I told him this thing was evil. But he said it was survival. They killed him for speaking against them. Since then, I have kept silent." Kunle's heart pounded. "So you believe us?" Mama Ife nodded. "I do. And I will help you. But you must be careful. They will not stop hunting you. You carry their secret now." That night, she gave them herbs for Tayo's wound and food to eat. For the first time in days, they felt a small flicker of hope. But hope is a dangerous thing. At dawn, Kunle woke to the sound of footsteps. He turned and froze. Baba Sola stood in the doorway, his knife glinting, his faint smile back on his lips. Behind him were Ojo the hunter and two other villagers. Mama Ife stood in the corner, her face pale, her eyes full of guilt. "I am sorry," she whispered, tears streaming down her cheeks. "They threatened to kill me. I had no choice." Kunle's chest tightened. Betrayal cut deeper than any knife. Baba Sola stepped forward slowly. His voice was soft, almost gentle. "You boys run fast. But you cannot run from the truth. It will always catch you." Tayo trembled, clutching his wounded arm. Kunle stepped in front of him, his fists clenched. "If you want him, you will have to go through me." Baba Sola's faint smile widened. "That is exactly what I was hoping for." The villagers dragged Kunle and Tayo to an abandoned well on the edge of Olokuta. The sky was gray, the wind heavy. The ground smelled of rot. Baba Sola stood tall, his knife in hand, his voice calm. "Do you boys know who I am? Do you think I am just a butcher?" Kunle spat on the ground. "You are a murderer." Baba Sola chuckled. "Ah, if only it were that simple." He raised his knife toward the sky. His voice deepened, carrying a weight that shook their bones. Years ago, this village was dying. Famine struck. Crops failed. Children starved. People buried their loved ones every day. I was young then, younger than you. And I could not watch my people perish. So I made a pact. Tayo whispered, trembling, a pact? With who? Baba Sola's eyes glowed faintly in the gray light. With the one who lives beneath the earth. The one who feeds on flesh and grants strength in return. He gave me the secret. He gave me the hunger. He gave me the meat that never rots. Kunle's heart pounded. You sold your soul. Baba Sola's faint smile returned. I sold nothing. I saved my people. And now they eat. They live. Even you, your mother has eaten my meat. Do you think she would still smile if not for me? Kunle's stomach twisted. Images of his mother laughing in the market flashed in his mind. Had she eaten? Baba Sola stepped closer, his eyes cold and certain. I am not just a seller. I am the giver of life. Without me, this village would be dust. And you, Kunle, will understand soon, because you will join me. Or you will feed the earth. The villagers chanted, their voices low and eerie, surrounding the well. The wind howled. The ground seemed to tremble. Kunle realized this was not just about meat anymore. This was about something older, darker, a curse that had bound the village for generations. And Baba Sola was its servant. Toward the old stone well. The chanting grew louder, filling the air with dread. Baba Sola stood at the edge, his knife gleaming, his voice calm as if he were blessing them. This well is the doorway. Beneath it lies the one who grants the gift of flesh. Tonight, you will see him. Tonight, you will understand. Kunle's fists trembled. He glared at Baba Sola. You call this a gift? You've cursed us all. You've cursed our mothers, our children, everyone. Baba Sola chuckled. Curses and blessings are the same. It only depends on who is hungry. With a signal, two men forced Kunle and Tayo to their knees. The chanting intensified, the well groaned as if something deep inside it was stirring. Suddenly a cold, foul wind rose from the mouth of the well. It carried a stench worse than death. Tayo gagged, clutching his wound. Kunle felt his heart hammer against his chest. Then, the sound came. A low, guttural growl, echoing up from the darkness. Something alive. Something ancient. Something hungry. Baba Sola raised his hands. Behold, the one who feeds us. Behold, the Lord of Flesh. The villagers dropped to their knees, bowing, their faces filled with both fear and devotion. Kunle, through the terror, whispered to Tayo. If we don't stop this, no one ever will. The ground shook as a massive, clawed hand gripped the inside of the well. Dark, slimy skin stretched over bone. Another hand followed. Then, glowing red eyes appeared in the pit. The villagers gasped in awe, chanting louder, their voices trembling. The creature dragged itself halfway out. Its face was twisted, neither man nor beast, with rows of jagged teeth. Its voice thundered inside their heads. Who dares resist my servant? Baba Sola pointed at Kunle and Tayo. These two, but they are young, strong. Feed on one, take the other. Bind him as my successor. Kunle's blood ran cold. Successor? He understood now Baba Sola was not eternal. He was preparing to pass the burden to someone else. And that someone was him. The beast's gaze fixed on Kunle. Its breath was hot, reeking of blood. Yes, this one. His spirit burns. He will serve well. Tayo, trembling, forced himself up. His wound bled heavily, but his eyes blazed with defiance. No! If you want him, you'll have to take me first. Baba Sola laughed. Then so be it. You will be the offering. The villagers seized Tayo and dragged him to the well's edge. He screamed, fighting, but he was too weak. The beast's tongue slithered out, long and slimy, reaching for him. Kunle's heart shattered. No! Leave him. But the villagers held him back, and Baba Sola only smiled faintly, whispering, "Watch, Kunle. Watch, and understand why we obey." At that moment, Kunle felt something snap inside him. A rage deeper than fear, hotter than fire. He had already lost his father. He would not lose Tayo too. Kunle broke free with a scream that shook the night. He grabbed a torch from one of the villagers and swung it wildly, setting robes aflame. People screamed, scattering. He charged at Tayo, pulling him back from the edge just as the beast's tongue snapped shut like a whip. The creature roared, furious, shaking the ground. Baba Sola's faint smile vanished, replaced with rage. "You dare defy me, boy?" Kunle's voice was hoarse but strong. "I will never be like you. I will never serve this monster." He turned the torch toward the well. "Go back to where you came from." The beast roared again, its claws rising to strike. In desperation, Kunle cut his palm with the burning torch and pressed his bleeding hand against Tayo's chest. "By my blood, you will not take him." The blood sizzled as it dripped toward the well. The creature screamed, pulling back as if burned. The villagers wailed, terrified. Baba Sola staggered, clutching his chest as if the bond between him and the beast was breaking. His knife dropped. His smile twisted into horror. "No, what have you done?" Kunle stared at him, breathing heavily, his hand still bleeding. "I broke your curse. And I'll finish it." The beast howled, retreating into the darkness of the well, its claws scraping against the stone as if dragged back by an unseen force. The chanting stopped. The night went silent. And in that silence, Baba Sola fell to his knees, trembling, his power draining from him. Kunle stood tall, though weak and bloody. He looked at the villagers, their faces pale with shock. The meat was never a blessing. It was a chain. And tonight, the chain is broken. But he knew, deep in his heart, that the battle was not over. The beast had been banished, but not destroyed. And Baba Sola still had one last trick to play. The villagers trembled, whispering among themselves. Some dropped their knives. Others clutched their stomachs as if a hunger deeper than death clawed at them. The bond to the beast had been broken, but their bodies craved the cursed meat. Their faces twisted with confusion, pain, and fear. Baba Sola struggled to his feet, his faint smile replaced with a crooked grimace. Blood dripped from his mouth. His voice shook, but still carried power. "You think you've won? No, you've only opened the door wider." Kunle glared at him, holding the torch tight. "Your lies are finished. You're nothing without that beast." Baba Sola's eyes burned with madness. "Nothing? Boy, I am the meat. I am the hunger. Without me, this village will eat itself alive." Then, before anyone could stop him, he lifted the knife and stabbed it deep into his own stomach. Gasps of horror filled the night. But instead of falling dead, his body convulsed, twisting unnaturally. His skin darkened, stretched, splitting open in places. His voice deepened into a monstrous growl. He was merging with the curse. Becoming the beast itself. The ground split beneath him. A foul stench rose. His eyes glowed red, his limbs stretching long and jagged. His faint smile returned, but now it was carved permanently across a monstrous face. "I will never die," he roared, his voice echoing through the forest. "I am the meat seller forever." The villagers screamed and fled, scattering like ants. Kunle pulled Tayo close, his chest burning with both fear and fury. For the first time, Kunle realized the truth. The battle wasn't just to survive. It was to end the curse once and for all. The monstrous Baba Sola lunged, his claws tearing through the earth. Kunle rolled with Tayo, barely avoiding the strike. Dust and stones flew everywhere. "Run!" Tayo shouted, but Kunle shook his head. "If we run, this thing will keep hunting us. It will never end." He looked at the burning torch in his hand, now half broken, the flame flickering weakly. Then at Baba Sola's knife, still buried in his twisted body. The answer hit him like lightning. Kunle dashed forward, dodging the beast's claw. He leapt onto its back, climbing its slimy flesh, ignoring the burning stench. The monster roared, thrashing, but Kunle held on with desperate strength. "Kunle!" Tayo screamed. Kunle yanked the knife from Baba Sola's body. The wound gushed black blood. The beast shrieked in agony, shaking violently. Baba Sola's voice boomed, mixed with the monster's growl. "If you kill me, you kill the village. They will starve. They will tear each other apart." Kunle hesitated for a heartbeat, then his father's voice echoed in his memory. "A curse is not life. It is only chains." With a roar of his own, Kunle drove the knife straight into the monster's heart. The ground shook violently. A blinding light burst from the wound. The monster wailed, its body convulsing, splitting apart. The faint smile, that cursed smile, faded from Baba Sola's face as it melted into ash. The beast collapsed, its massive form crumbling into dust, scattering into the wind. Silence fell. Kunle dropped to his knees, exhausted, bloodied, trembling. Tayo crawled to him, tears streaming down his face. "You did it, brother, you did it." But Kunle shook his head, his voice weak. "No, we did it." The villagers crept back slowly, their faces pale with shock. Without the curse, the hunger in their eyes seemed to fade. For the first time, they looked truly human again. Mama Ife stepped forward, her voice breaking. "It is finished. The meat seller is no more." Kunle looked at Tayo, then at the empty well, still reeking of death. He knew the truth. The curse was broken, but the scars would remain forever. He stood, his body weak but his spirit stronger than ever. "No one will sell that meat again. Not in this village. Not in this world. We are free." The wind carried away the last ashes of Baba Sola. The villagers bowed their heads. And for the first time in generations, Olokuta saw dawn without the shadow of the mysterious meat seller. The butcher's stall is gone. The smoke no longer rises. Yet the stench of fear still lingers in Olokuta because some wounds never heal. They say the curse was broken, but the whispers remain. Children still shiver when they pass the old well. And when the night grows too quiet, some swear they hear a knife scraping bone and a faint smile in the dark. Baba Sola is no more. But hunger is eternal. And sometimes, hunger wears a face you trust.